where brevity is paramount.
Hello and welcome to episode 39 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Rivers, with me is John Denton.
Hoot.
As usual, we're going to take it in turns to go through the 10 games we've each been playing over the past 7 days, back and forth from 10 to 1. Number 10s are the games we played the least, number 1's the games we played the most, and that's it. John, go ahead.
My number 10, as I think it may have been last week or 2 weeks ago, is PES 2013. Again, I won't talk about it too much. Nice to see that they've got the summer transfers in there finally after however many months since they happened, just before the January transfers actually happened in real life. Played a couple of games against our mutual friend. Still good fun. It was a bit laggy, but yeah, I don't think that's the game's fault. It's just one of those things. Still will be my football game for 2013. That's about it, really.
Okay, fair enough. Right, my number 10 is a game called Alpha Ship on the Xbox 360.
Shooter? Shoot 'em up?
No, not really. It's an Xbox Live indie game. It's one that I don't remember downloading. I found it on my hard drive, so I decided to look at it. When I saw the artwork, actually, I knew exactly why I downloaded it. It's because the artwork is a shockingly poor pencil drawing of a spaceship. Apologies if a kid did it, but my God, it's an awful, awful drawing. And it's the company behind it have decided to call themselves Dingy Games.
Right, nice.
So it's got to be worth a look. It's a alphabet game that doesn't really teach you the alphabet. You pick a letter, and you can have either the way it sounds or the actual. So you can have A or A, B or Ba, and then you're a spaceship in space, and you have to fly around picking letters. Flying into letters, so all letter A, and then it goes to the next level, and then you're flying around getting all the letter A's, and then it's the next level, and then you have to get slightly more letter A's, and then it gets harder, and they have other letters there. You have to avoid them and get all the A's. It's dreadful. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. Flying around getting A's. Sometimes, if you put it on a harder difficulty setting, there's just hardly any. And you're flying around blank screens where there's nothing, and occasionally one will appear, and that apparently makes it more difficult. But it says as soon as you collect it, it's like A. So I just pretended I was tickling a scouser, which was the most enjoyable way. I mean, yeah, it's terrible, but pretends to be educational, but fucking hell, no, it's not.
That sounds rank. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm going to get that one.
Alpha Ship. Write it down.
My number 9's a weird one. It's Grand Theft Auto 4. Of all things, I was writing about Grand Theft Auto 5 this week, so I went back and took a little visit to Liberty City, and it's kind of aged well and not well. It's weird. The frame rate's really bad looking at it now. Kind of choppy, but the animation of the guys walking around the street and everything like that is still really good, and driving down the equivalent Times Square style junction still very impressive, really. I mean, in terms of atmosphere, it's still kind of, there's no other city open world that's as good as this. It doesn't look as good as it did in my mind's eye, a little lacking in detail, probably from watching the awesome GTA 5 trailer about 20 times, which does look markedly better. But still an amazing achievement. I'm looking forward to what they're doing, what they appear to be doing with the missions and the 3 character structure and stuff in GTA 5, and the potential to be back to truly mucking around in the open world again, whereas GTA 4 is a lot more grounded than its predecessors. But I'll never get rid of it. It's such an impressive game. And you said the other week that Far Cry 2 was the only game of that scale that you ever played twice. GTA 4 is the only game of that scale I've ever played twice, basically because I had to review it out of office, as it were, first, and then went back through it again, so that's the reason I did it. But I basically loved all of it apart from the very last mission.
You're not going to go back and do it again?
No. It was 10-15 minutes just to go back, refresh myself, and just enjoy the sights and sounds for a minute.
Yeah, fair enough. I always think I might go back to it, but if I went back to anything, it'd be is it Lost and the Damned?
Yeah.
Where you're the biker guy. That was the best thing about Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new one.
Yes, indeed.
My number 9, I'm pretty sure it's on your list because I think I saw you playing it earlier in the week. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, the demo.
It is. It's slightly higher up. Yeah.
Okay, should we save it till then?
Yeah. Might as well.
All right, go on then. That's
Cool.
me. Done.
My number 8 is Mad Dog McRee on iOS.
What? Oh, you played it?
Yeah, I told you I would. Yeah, it's unbelievably fucking shit.
Yeah.
Functionally, I think it might be the worst game I've ever played because it's completely unplayable. You've got the reasonably high resolution little the old man talking about Mad Dog McRee and everything like that, and there's no reason why it works so badly. But every time, I mean, you played it, haven't you? This iOS version. Every time one of the fucking bad cowboys comes to shoot you, my phone vibrated and then it went black, and then the nanosecond that the screen came back on, I got shot.
Yeah,
and it's like why on earth does it do that? I kept thinking I was getting a text, but I wasn't. Nothing was happening. It was just that bad. So when they've got the nice spruced up video, and the touchscreen can obviously tell where you're shooting, fine. Why on earth it does that, I have no fucking idea.
Well, there's a little timer thing. Basically, the window of opportunity is so slim because you can't fire before it lets you fire.
Yeah.
And then you have a split second, and then you're dead.
Yeah.
So it's almost as bad as the Wii. I mean, the Wii one is like that, but the gap's a little bit longer. But the fact that you can't even shoot on the Wii one, you can just sit there and shoot, unless it's one of those standoffs when it makes you shoot off screen first. But yeah, it's fucking dreadful. And the fact that there's a trial, because that's one of those games that some people would buy for nostalgia value alone. And the fact that there's a trial that demonstrates how utterly awful it is. I wonder how many copies they've sold.
I hope they haven't sold any.
I don't know.
No, not an iOS. Wii version, or powerful Wii version, all day, but not that shit. It went black and vibrated when I was trying to shoot every time.
Yeah, I mean, it fundamentally doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Shit's
really.
house.
So did you buy the full version?
I want to.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Maybe for the Wii U.
Okay. Yeah, good call. Don't let it put you off the Wii version, because that's
nothing will put me off that. Don't worry.
All right.
The thing is, the video at the beginning made me excited for the Wii version because it was so shit in a good way. But then, not actually being able to shoot anyone was not cool.
The annoying thing for me is that because they fucked that up, I'm not going to see all those other American laser games that I'm so interested in seeing. So that's the nail in the coffin, I think, which is a real goddamn shame.
That is.
Okay, my number 8 is Halo 4. I won't talk much about it. We've spoken about it plenty. I've been playing it on co-op with friends, and we played it, didn't like it, and I've played it some more with friends. And although you can just blast through them in 15-20 minutes, and there's not
You're talking about Spartan Ops,
sorry, yeah. There's not a whole lot of challenge, but it's just fun. We've enjoyed it a lot. We're going to keep going with them. I think it's enjoyable, and the multiplayer is just terrific.
It is. But I haven't played any this week, but I'm looking forward to getting back into the multi. Actually, I don't think I'll do Spartan Ops, but I think I'm just particularly fussy about that type of spawning system, and almost any game that uses it, like Borderlands as well, uses it. I can't get my head around that one.
Well, I like it.
Yeah. Well, all power to you, certainly.
Genuine.
My number 7 is kind of moving on from Mad Dog McRee. Is Red Dead Redemption, played for the same reason as playing GTA 4. This was kind of Rockstar's last true great open world. I know they did LA Noire afterwards, but that wasn't really them, and it wasn't really that great certainly in terms of its open world. But Red Dead, fuck me, that has aged brilliantly. I know it's not that old; it's only a couple of years old, but it still looks incredible. I decided to play because when I was playing Red Dead, I finished the whole game, but I was a good guy basically. I never just went in and caused trouble. I just played through the missions and kind of role played as the character. But I decided to just be a stone cold killer for the however long, half an hour that I played it for. And it's amazing to do it like that. So I was just walking into the little towns and just shooting up the bars, and you get into these huge firefights, and the music's amazing. Being chased on horseback, and the way like innocent people react when they get scared and run away. It was fucking incredible. It made me just want to sit there and play through the whole game again. And then I remembered like how much of a ball ache some of the missions are and how long it would take me to do that. But that reminded me just how fucking good that game is. That is one of the best games of this generation, definitely. Even with its sort of little quirks here and there and some of the story dips. Just going back into that world, it's like fucking hell. That's something else.
Better than GTA 4, I reckon.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really? I thought you were straight up like GTA 4 with Streets Ahead.
That's also one of the best games of this generation. But going back in and seeing how literally it was one after another. I took GTA 4 out and put this in, and I know GTA 4 is older, but Red Dead still felt fresh, whereas GTA felt like an old GTA. This still felt like a vibrant game that I wanted to play right now, and was better than most of the stuff that I've been playing recently.
Yeah. No, I loved Red Dead Redemption. I love the zombie. What was it called?
Undead Nightmare. I never really went through that, but I was actually, after doing that, I was tempted to go back onto it. So I've still
if you're looking for an excuse, Undead Nightmare is absolutely superb, and the co-op missions are fantastic as well. Unfortunately, when I was playing through them, most of my mates who had it had got rid of the game, so I was having to do it with randoms. But I thought, wow, if we all had this, it would be superb to do on co-op.
Yeah, I never really did those, but maybe I should have. But yeah, awesome stuff.
Yes, true that. Okay, my number 7 is Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Were you played with us at the weekend? Did you have your headset on?
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking.
So you heard one by one all of my friends decide to get rid of it?
Yes. Disappointed that they're not considered as my friends, though. That's very upsetting.
Okay. That's just a bad choice of words.
Yeah, no, I remember the last match. This is my number 5, but we'll talk about it now. The last match that we played, I was enjoying myself. I was having like positive kill death and that sort of thing, but everybody else had got completely fucked off. I'm a little bit more tolerant because I've always been shit anyway. So when I have a bad game, I've always been the shit player when we play FPS. So it doesn't bother me as much. However, there are some serious issues with lag compensation, which are not fun.
Yeah, playing it didn't help that I had every one of them in my ear screaming about how much they hated it and how they were going to sell it tomorrow, and I'm going straight, because they were furious. But for the first time, I did understand them, and I did understand some of the people who were so militantly against Call of Duty. And I've always stuck up for it in the past. But there's things like, if you're playing against highly ranked players in an objective-based game, so even like domination or something like that, they don't go for the objectives. We were winning games by miles because they were just sitting at the back and farming kill streaks. It's like
a team quick-scoping us, racking up kills. We all had negative kill deaths, I think, on a whole team, yet we won. I think it was a kill confirm game or something. We actually won by a mile, but it was fucking miserable. They just weren't collecting the little tags just to get there. Oh, fuck knows why. God knows why they were doing it. But
what's quick scoping? Is that when you bring the scope up and then shoot straight away?
Yes, I think you just press both buttons at the same time. They took it out of. It was like a big part of Modern Warfare 2, and they didn't have it in Black Ops. It was like Treyarch making their mark on the series, and so snipers were kind of made redundant, basically, in terms of the way that game works, because you can't really sit and snipe for very long in Call of Duty. It's not the way it works. It was brought back from Modern Warfare 3 and is now in Black Ops as well. And it's just stupid because they're basically one-hit kills, and it doesn't look like it takes a lot of skill because it has the slight auto-aim when you bring up the iron sights on any gun. So, you're just getting stuck. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know why it's in the game. I don't know why that's a thing. I'm certainly not prepared to do it myself. And if it becomes a huge problem in Black Ops 2, it will stop me playing it.
Yeah, I've still got it, and I still love the campaign. I still love it as a package. I think it's really strong. But that was when it got to the stage where we were doing battle with an entire team of snipers, and one of them, I remember, one was at basically the other side of the level, and he hopped and then sniper kill, and I was like, no way.
Yeah, but it's almost skillless certainly compared to like a Halo sniper kill or a Battlefield sniper kill.
Yeah,
it's I guess there's a skill to learning to do that specific type of play, but it's a very like specific and not particularly highly regarded skill. Well,
if it overrules everything else and it doesn't involve, there are games like you said, Halo, Call of Duty. If you get sniped, you're like, fair play, that guy's mastered something. Whereas this, I'm just like, no, it's like they've found a break in the game. So I'm mystified by why they've kept it in. But I'm gonna still, up towards Christmas especially, I'm gonna have a few games on it, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. It does have a place.
It was only really that match that was really annoying me as well. And like you say, if you are playing with people and they are being relentlessly negative, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been like that, but they got pissed off. It's very difficult to even concentrate on the match you're playing on when everybody in your ear is angry. So yeah, I played the next day afterwards, and going in on your own and not in a big party, you seem to get matched up much better in terms of your skill level, because there was 5 of us, and I think obviously it's only going to be able to match us up with other parties, and there can't be that many big parties around compared to just games where you can jump in on your own. And every time I play on my own, I seem to do pretty well, and the skill level just seems to be in an area where I can deal with it. There'll be the odd good player, some shit players. Whereas almost every single time we play as a big group, we end up getting matched up with some fucking... I mean, I could cast some negative light, but they're just people who play a lot of Call of Duty and are very good at it. Scum.
Yeah, well said. No, it is frustrating. And I think the way you play is the best way to do it. I mean, I like playing games where you can strategise and you can... because you can't strategise in Call of Duty. You really can't, and I've realised that now. I thought you could. But the more...
You can a bit domination, I think, but... Well, in Black Ops 1 you could anyway.
Yeah, I think that as well designed as some of them are, I think the maps in this are a little bit too small. So it's hard because spawn points move around the whole time. It's not like Battlefield where you spawn on 2 different sides. You can spawn behind people relatively easily. But at the end of the day, when I next play it, which will probably be around Christmas time or just before, I think they may have sorted out some of those problems. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I still like it. To me, it's a lone wolf game. So playing it on my own, I don't feel like I'm missing out. If I play Battlefield on my own, it's not fun at all. Playing Halo on my own, I feel it's still fine, but it feels like I'm not getting the full experience of having the team and the lads. Whereas COD just it kind of feels like I'm playing a single player game. It's just like a thing to do, and because you're leveling up and everything. I'll keep it around for a while. I've got no real reason not to, because I've only had a handful of shit games and quite a few fun ones. But like I always say, and I overuse this expression, it's fast food, and it's not well cooked, well prepared, good ingredients. It's fucking crispy McDonald's chips, good ones, not the floppy ones that you get sometimes. Nice crispy ones with salt.
But Burger King chips superior, I reckon. But
I don't know what that coating is. I don't like it, but yeah.
Well, that was my number 7.
Okay, so my number 6 was what we talked about before, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Oh yeah.
Did the demo a few times. My brother and I, he came down to hang out this weekend. Really, really cool. At first, I didn't really get it because it does this kind of labour tutorial where it tells you how to hit, and then then it chucks you in the game. You hit 2 guys, and you go okay, and then it goes, oh right, now here's about 1 million guys and 2 giant robots. Deal with this. And I just died over and over and over again. But eventually, we got the hang of the parrying system and the fact that there is a little bit of stealth in there. It's not a stealth game in any way, shape, or form, but it has stealth mechanics in terms of you can sneak up on people and they react if they see you. It's not a stealth game. It just has that kind of Metal Gear hangover in a good way. And then the last boss in the demo was an absolute cunt, but we got him in the end. But I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I didn't have any problems with the demo at all. I pretty much rinsed through it until that boss at the end, and I died 10 times, possibly more than that. And I was just like, "This is so shit," because it kept coming up. Parry, click the left thumbstick, and
it's not click. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, and I did it. I went. I had to Google it. But yeah, it's clicking. It's move the thumbstick in the direction of the attack and press attack at the same time. And once I figured that, it was gravy. I was just like, God, this game's going to be so goddamn good. I enjoyed it so much.
You think maybe they could have put that in the tutorial along with how to press X? But
yeah, and the fact that it kind of that little thing on the corner of the screen kind of felt like it was telling you to click the thumbstick.
Yeah, I was doing the exact same thing. We were for like 20 minutes trying to click.
But it's a measure of how good the demo. I mean, as a demo, actually, it's kind of rubbish because there's a lot of cutscenes. There's not a lot of gameplay, and it is ridiculously difficult. But part of me was like, this. Weed out the fucking. I like the fact that it was difficult straight away.
Yeah, I do as well.
It's like a proper hard. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have liked it more. I mean, and that's coming from someone who at one point was going to turn it off and speak terrible things about it because. Yeah, it doesn't do a great job of explaining. So in the full game, it probably will. But God, I can't wait. It's a little bit of Vanquish, a little bit of what else would you say? Onimusha, maybe. Bayonetta, yeah. I mean, even Skyward Sword in the way that you can be very, very specific with. I mean, obviously you're not flailing your armor.
Do you ever play Afro Samurai?
No, I don't think I did. Is it an XBLA game?
No, it was a full price game, but it had that. sword mechanic in it, where you choose the exact direction with your analog stick and slice things. It wasn't as good. You couldn't slice things anywhere near as much as you can in Metal Gear. But yeah, that was from that. But it's much better in Metal Gear. But they're parrying a guy, sort of flicking him up into it, and then quickly activating the sword mode where you hold left trigger, is it?
Yeah.
Which allows you to slash in any direction on the right stick, and then just slicing him into like sushi. Basically, that's just fucking gleam.
And if you want to get his health, there's a little box that you have to chip with the sword, and then you just basically. It looks like it happens so fast I can't tell, but it looks like he's ripping his spine out.
Yeah, or like his like metal heart or something, or yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about potentially is the fact that there isn't a proper dodge move. But it's,
I think that's it. It's all parries, isn't it?
It's platinum. I mean, like, they're going to smash it. I cannot wait.
Not long,
indeed.
Not long. Yeah. My number 5. Oh, sorry, that was my number 6. That's you, isn't it?
My number 6 is Need for Speed Most Wanted. Again, I'm not going to talk about it much. I think it's absolutely just a phenomenal piece of work. I haven't really played it in a traditional sense. Really, it's me and a mate. We were just chatting, and we went into multiplayer free drive. So it was just us two driving around the same world, and we spent hours and hours just chatting. It was like a laid back Sunday evening. We were just chatting, and we were just finding all the billboards, all the gates, just driving around. Have you got this one? No, come and meet me. And just it's just fun. And when you're pissing around in that world, funny stuff just happens. You end up inadvertently decking each other, or like falling off. Funny stuff happens, and. For it to be that compelling to just dick around in a world and find collectibles, essentially, it's just, oh man, I love it. It's a phenomenal piece of work, that game.
I agree. You use the phrase "not playing it in a traditional way," and I think that's something that perhaps some people have struggled with, because there is no way of playing this game. You play it however you see fit at the time, which sounds like exactly what you did, and I did that with you and probably the other guy you played with on Paradise, which was so fun as well. But I do think people who can't get their head around that and they want a bit more structure, typical structure, have struggled with Most Wanted, because you just do what you want.
That's what I love about it.
Yeah, me too. That's as I said a few weeks ago. I said I think it'll be in time that it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of standing as an open world game is truly revered. It won't be just yet, and I think that's starting to come now from people who stuck with it.
Yeah, and it's the more even the slight reservations I had about it are starting to. For example, something that I know a lot of people have had problems with is the pursuits. Now I've done them so many times, and I've mastered what to do, and I've used, I know all the techniques to get away from the cops. Even if I'm driving a shitty little car that I've just picked up from the side of the road, and the cops start following, I'm just like, you can just get away from them in a second. But I absolutely love that, because you've learned that over the course of playing it. It's like you're looking in the rearview mirror and you're just the ultimate, the badass driver, because it doesn't mean anything to you. The police are following you. I can get out of this. I know all the ropes.
You're the fucking Most Wanted.
Exactly. That's why it's such a shame that people have dismissed it, because they haven't got to grips with stuff, and it wasn't supposed to be. It's not the kind of thing that you're supposed to get to grips with. You have to learn it, and it's a phenomenal game. Yeah.
People thought Criterion had fucked up. Come on.
Did they? Who thought that, though?
It's just, I'm not going to name any names, but, different people that write about video games and talk about video games. Lots of people don't think that as well, but, yeah. So I had a lot of, I remember a lot of these similar words coming out around Burnout Paradise time. But, Criterion. I'll always look for the best in what they do, if that makes any sense. Even if at first it seems a bit funny, or I'm not sure about this, I always give them the benefit of the doubt and try and work out what their thought process was, because invariably, it's for good reason.
True that. Yeah, No, I agree with that.
Sweet. My number 5, is that right?
Yes.
Is Black Ops. We've done Black Ops, so yeah.
Okay. My number 5 is Lego Lord of the Rings.
You like this, right?
Love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. I truly love it. In some ways, my reaction to it has been much stronger than Lego Batman 2, which I think might make the cut when I try and work out what my favourite games of the year were. And it's still the traditional Lego game, whereas Lego Batman 2 had a script, it was comedy heavy, it was an open world, it did all these great things and succeeded at them, that it was a more ambitious proposition. This is a lot more of a traditional Lego game, but there were moments when I was playing it and I was thinking, if I still worked for a magazine or if I did this review for a website, there are so many times I was tempted. I'd give it 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Because there are moments where you're just like, that's so... It's clever without... It's simple and clever at the same time. It's so hard to describe how they've done what they've done. They've stretched out periods of the game that should be just boring, just dull. Do here, do this, do this. But they're all puzzles based around... It's so difficult to describe. It's really irritating. It's not as big and ambitious as Lego Batman 2, but that had, because that was so big, there were sort of small performance issues. Whereas this is slick and epic and just lovely. It's just the fight. I can't remember what it was called. There's a battle at the end of the third film with all those big elephant type things. Yeah. And there's and that happens in the game, and you ride on a horse into this place, and they replicate this ridiculously huge battle sequence with Lego guys, and you just like they've gone above and beyond just to recreate something. I was just laughing. I was like, this is so incredible. They've done that in Lego form, and it's huge and it's epic, and lots of people have said this, but it is the best Lord of the Rings game. I don't like Lord of the Rings, but it's mimicking some of that size and scope of those films and putting it into a video game with fucking Lego people. It's something close to a miracle. And the puzzles are just, as I tried to explain last week, they're ingenious whilst also being incredibly straightforward and simple. There's always honestly, I wish people could just play it because they don't understand what I mean.
I watched the opening 15 minutes on a video on YouTube, and I was amazed at I haven't played the Lego game, like I said, since the early ones, and I was amazed at how fucking amazing it looked. It just looked fucking superb.
It is.
The scale of the battle that was happening, like the quality of the graphics, still had the humour in the little cutscenes and stuff. I don't have time to play it at the moment because we're so busy with everything, but I do want to play this. I do, because I like Lord of the Rings. I don't love it, but I've always liked it since I was a little kid. I've read the books and stuff when I was young. So I'm sure it'll have that kind of appeal to me as well, way more than the Star Wars ones do, or anything like Harry Potter or Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't like any of that stuff.
Yeah, see, I don't think those games. I think this is. Part of me thinks it's the best Lego game they've made, but I love Lego Batman 2 so much. It was brilliant in a different way. But I'll say, I'm pretty sure I said this last week, but I'll say it again. If you've only ever played Lego Star Wars, or to a lesser extent Lego Harry Potter, where it was just a bit of a grind, I can understand why parents love playing it with their kids and stuff like that, but it was go here, do that, go here, do that. Here, it's far and away, it's far beyond that. And I still think kids will love it in the same way, but you have to think a little bit more. I had no idea I would think as strongly or think as much of this game as I did, but yeah, man, they nailed it. They really did. I worry that the only way is down. But then again, 5 months ago they brought out Lego Batman 2, so hopefully they just
keep smashing it.
Hopefully they continue to do so, because Star Wars felt easy. It was charming, it was nice, it was compelling just enough, but it's not something that I would revere as being an incredibly well-designed or thoughtful video game, whereas Lord of the Rings, I'm just frequently in awe of it. I mean, honestly, God, I love it. I really do love it.
Fuck.
So much fun, especially on co-op. It's a shame it's not online co-op, but, what can you do?
Yeah, I do need to play it. It's just finding time, but I do. I really do want to play that.
Yeah.
My number 4 is a game that you talked about last week, which I thought I would never play and would never even remember the name. But literally 20 minutes after finishing recording the podcast, I was asked to review it. And that's Virtue's Last Reward, but actually on PlayStation Vita instead of 3DS.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's no difference between the two except the graphics are slightly sharper on Vita, and obviously it's not 3D. It's a cool game. It's basically... they call it a visual novel, and the only other one that's been released in the West is the prequel to this game, 9999. I always forget, it's like 9 people, 9 hours, 9 doors. It's probably the other order of those things that I've said, which is the same sort of game. They're in the Zero Escape series, which is the fucking maniacal little rabbit, which is setting up this whole game. He's basically Jigsaw from Saw, and the game is like you're in Saw without death machines. There's all these characters who have these watches on their wrists, and if they fuck up or don't do what they're told, they die, basically, Battle Royale kind of style. What they have to do to survive is, first of all, get out of little rooms using that's the puzzle element of the game, which is I liken it sort of somewhere between a point and click and a Professor Layton kind of simple versions of both, finding clues in a room to be able to get the key code to get out of the room.
Is that where you started the game? Because that's the demo I played, where you're in those numbered rooms.
No, you actually just start in an elevator. Oh yeah. I guess I guess that it would be one of the numbered rooms. Yeah,
right.
I don't want to give too much away.
All right.
And then a large part of the game is reading text, which is well written, but the dialogue's kind of spunky, and there's a lot of puns and stuff like that. It is well written, similar to how some Nintendo games are translated, but it's I said this in my review. The Japanese are not known for their economy of words. They, look at the titles of their fucking games. They like to use 10 words when we would probably use 2, and as a result, Virtue's Last Reward will explain everything 10 times over when it only needs to explain it once. It's a very Japanese style of writing, which is strange, as some of the cinema involves no speech whatsoever. But so I found that quite laborious, to be honest, and I can understand why other people like it. People who like to have all of their fiction, every loose end tied up, every answer, they want to know everything, will love this kind of thing, because the story branches and you can actually go back and quickly play all the other branches. It's designed for people like that. People who like stuff to be a bit more ambiguous sometimes, people who like, say, the cinema, David Lynch, will probably be driven mad by this. I was in the latter camp, so I really liked a lot of what it tried to do, but the execution was not for me. I didn't think it was necessarily bad. You know when you kind of have an opinion of something, I've talked about this before, where you can see the other side easily, but it's just not the opinion that you happen to have, but you don't necessarily think it's bad. That's how this game left me. But it has some great, clever ideas. A lot of you have to play off against the other characters. I'm rambling now, but a lot of people like it. You said it well last week. That it will be someone out there's favourite game ever.
Did you find the puzzles ridiculously difficult though?
No, you kind of get into the brain of the game, if that makes any sense, and it starts to have its own rules. And then once you get into the way the game's thinking, they're actually not too difficult, and they make up quite a small part of the game.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I say it's 70% reading.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's called a visual novel. It is, a lot of it is to be considered a book.
People have been going absolutely batshit about this. I can't believe it's over something. I mean, if it's the appeal of that just eludes me completely.
Me too, but I think if you get it into your head that that's what it is, and I think they're way more common in Japan, this style of game. That it is a lot of reading, and like I said, the dialogue and the interplay between the characters is very good. It's well written. It's just way too laborious, and everything's explained too much. But that's because I don't like stuff being explained a lot of times. It does matter. Hence the brevity of this podcast.
Genuine.
Brevity anyway.
Yeah, I'm tempted to check that out at some point still, but yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it to you. I think it would do your head in.
If I see it in a bargain bin, I'll have a punt just because I enjoyed the demo.
Yeah. I know people out there will like it a lot, and I can understand the very high review scores that it's been getting.
Sure.
Because it's very cool in many ways.
Okay. Okay, all right. My number 4 is Family Guy Back to the What was that noise?
That was...
Oh, okay. Family Guy Back to the Multiverse on the Xbox 360.
All I know of this is 2 things. 1, I hate Family Guy. 2, I read John Blyth's brilliant interactive review.
Yeah, that was very, very good.
The website, which I hope everyone's read.
Yeah. It's not a difficult one really, but my reaction to it's quite difficult to describe. If you imagine that your reaction to anything is on an amplifier, and it's turned up to the pins on mediocre, and it's about to bust through mediocre, but it never quite does bust over into awful.
Right.
That's where I stand, because it's mediocre and it's plodding and it's dull and it's crass and it's just. But there were. It is offensive as well. I mean, I've read a lot. I read Jim Sterling's review as well, and he was just mystified or shocked rather by how homophobic it is, because it's a game where, I mean, I hate Family Guy too. I've always hated Family Guy. Friends of mine on multiple occasions have sat me down saying, just watch this episode. And I've sat there and I'm like, where are the fucking jokes? There's no jokes in this. It's people behaving. It reminded me of Bo Selector, where there's no jokes. It's just people going, catchphrase. I'm like, what? So I don't like Family Guy anyway. But even by the standards of that show as I know it, this is bottom of the fucking ladder. I mean... repeatedly they'll just fall back on saying something's gay or someone's gay or that's gay or gay. There's a lot of comments about things or people or tasks or whatever. This is gay, and after a while it just became white noise. I didn't become offended by it. The plot is nonsensical. Obviously you have these remote controls and you're zipping around time, which means that you can go to different levels, and you go to an Amish village and they will try and kill you and shout things about how they want to kill you because they've never had sex. I mean, it's like, it's preschool shit. I mean, it's...
Sounds fucking dreadful.
It is... I mean, even the first level, it starts and there's... You're bouncing between these two house parties. One's a... it's like a frat boy house party, and one's a nerds party, and the frat boys are like homophobic and they just ultra violent, and the nerds are allergic to everything and they can't handle polite conversation. You're just like, what is this? Fucking 1981. It's like a fucking 80s. I mean, it's like, what is this? I mean, that's where the tone is. Old shit that wasn't funny then. It's not funny now, and they don't even spruce it up with any jokes. It's a third. Have you seen it running at all?
I've seen screenshots. I've not seen footage.
It's a third-person shooter. It's a very, very ropey third-person shooter. The gunplay, the guns are weightless, and it's just a poorly... But it's just mediocre. It's no worse than mediocre. I mean, I played it. I progressed through half of the game in a sitting, and that's one thing that did stand out for me. When a bad game's bad, and it doesn't realise it's bad, that there's nothing more offensive than that. But this is a game that knows it's bad. So you can be one of these spectacularly poorly designed... just appallingly awful boss battles where you don't know if any... I mean, it's like the computer designed it itself and they just came and like, yeah, that's fine, so things will fire at you, you can't avoid them, you shoot it doesn't hit them, you can't move, whatever. When you die, you spawn straight back. Every damage you've done to the boss is still there. Everyone you've killed is still dead. So anybody could complete this game, and I found that kind of like... At least they did that. If there was bits in it where you got stuck because the game was so badly designed, I think I would have fucking tried to... I would have lost my mind. It's just so... It's the utmost peak of mediocre. But it didn't... It never really got truly awful because I did play it. I did progress through it. It's just incredibly unfunny. I mean, Adam West, who I think is in the cartoon... does a voice for this, and he just sounds knackered and totally disinterested. And I'm just like, that sums the game up. He just like sounds like he doesn't want to be there, and he can't be bothered. His dialogue's rubbish. But there was something about the fact that it knew how terrible it was, and it just wanted to sort of give you an easy path through it. I kind of had a little bit of respect for that, and I did laugh one time. It had nothing to do with what was going on. It was completely inadvertent to the gags and the story. But there's a bit where there's a level set in a hospital that only has patients handicapped people, right, in wheelchairs. Physically handicapped people, so it's like, wow, isn't that offensive? And they've all got these electronic, not tasers, but it's all like cattle prods, and they're rolling around in their wheelchairs trying to jab you, and it's all crass and fucking rubbish and shit and whatever. But there was one bit where I was pissing around. That's one other thing. The level design, it's so badly designed that it's a linear path through areas that have multiple paths. Okay. So it will say, go here, and you'll walk all the way there, and you'll realise there's only one way. You have to walk all the way back and go round again. Oh, man. And then it will say, flick 3 switches, you go and do that, and then they put you in an identical area, and then like flick 3 switches. It's pointless explaining it. It's a bad, boring, dull, repetitive game. But as I said, in this hospital with all these guys, I ended up having to take a phone call. And when I came back to the game, I hadn't left it on pause, there was just about 20 of these guys on wheelchairs with these cattle prods flinging themselves downstairs and upstairs and all over the place, and I just thought that was hilarious. But the game didn't intend for that to happen. No. I mean, and they were all ramming me, like flying down staircases, running into me on the ground. You know, just it was a funny sight. But yeah, I don't hate it, but it's fucking Just exasperating, really.
Yeah, I actually saw an episode of Family Guy yesterday. It just came on the TV, and I couldn't be bothered to change the channel, so I ended up watching about 20 minutes of it. And it was, I mean, it doesn't offend me in the slightest, but constantly trying to be as offensive as possible just makes you a prick. It doesn't. It just makes you just a nasty prick. And if that's your contribution to the world, then congratulations.
That's what I mean. This game is worse than any Family Guy episode, and it's there's no jokes in it. It's just people being spiteful and rude.
Yeah, spiteful's the word. Yeah,
it's just. I mean, and I always found that with the TV show. In the interest of full disclosure, though, I watched the Seth MacFarlane film Ted the other night, and I thought it was brilliant.
I haven't seen that yet.
But he co-wrote that with other people, so I'm starting to think. I think they probably channeled a bit of his fucking attitude, shall we say, into something a bit more coherent and sort of genuinely amusing with actual structured jokes in it. But Family Guy, back to the Multiverse. I wouldn't bother.
I don't think I will.
Genuine.
From that shit to a fantastic game, Dishonored. I saw someone tweeted, one of the guys that listens to the show, that he was treating. I think he said he was treating it like a fine wine or something.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of what's happened with me. I still haven't finished the game. It takes me a long time to do missions, as I've said, and I only have time to do one every now and again. I think I'm getting there now. Still fucking fantastic. The scope with and variety of how you can get through the levels and the choices that you can make is just mind-blowing. Like, there's one where you have to cross this giant bridge, and even if you want to play the game stealthy, which I'm sure most people do, there are still about 10 different ways that you can be stealthy, which is something that games that allow you to go quiet or loud often don't bother. It's like, you've got the quiet route, this is the quiet route, through the vent, jump on the guy, use the fucking taser, whatever, or the loud route, just shoot everyone. But this seems to have, it does have multiple options within those brackets and options within those options as well. I was slightly disappointed by the mission after that. There's a mission in a party. I don't know if you got that far.
Yeah, which one? When you've got to get into the ball, is it?
Yeah, and then there's three sisters. You've got to kill one of them. Yeah. Like, amazing setup, great idea, love being in a party, was really enjoying it, and then just walked up to one character and he told me what her name was, walked up to another character, had to do a tiny little side quest task, and she told me which one it was, and I was just like, oh, I wish I'd never spoken to you guys, because I'm sure there was way more interesting ways that I could have worked this out, and I didn't really just want to be told, so I just made her come into a bathroom with me and shot her, and then left the party. So I was just like, oh, that was nowhere near as good as it should have been. There was all these areas I didn't get a chance to discover, so I'm not too sure why they did that, because it seemed like they could have I don't know. No other part of the game has been that straightforward. But I'm not going to hold it against the game. It's still amazing, and it's not like I had to go and then kill her in the way that I did either. I could have still explored many other possibilities. I don't really have a bad word to say about it. Some of the sound design, I mean, if I'm being super picky, is slightly irritating to me. I don't like the fact when you put on the dark vision and you can see through the walls, it sounded to me like he said he hunts eyes, which didn't make any sense, or he hunts dice, which didn't make any sense either. Apparently he says enhanced eyes, but I thought, why would you wouldn't say that out loud if you're trying to hide? So is it his eyes that say that? And if so, I wouldn't want my eyes talking every single time that I did that. That would drive me mad.
I mean, I just thought it was a nice way of signifying that you'd put it on. Not that you need to know that,
no, because everything goes bright yellow.
Yeah, but it's not something that. Well, it didn't bother me anyway.
Also, that vision mode just makes me think he's got like piss in his eyes or something. These are small. I'm just being nitpicky for no reason, but I'm looking forward to finishing the game, and I'm going to do a loud run afterwards. I thought about trying to do another like super stealthy run, but I just haven't got time. But I do quite fancy doing a full-on badass loud run, just walking into every room, hitting the wall with my thing, just fucking let's dance, and then just smashing everyone up and seeing how quickly I can get through the game. And I think that'll be fun as well. Yeah,
I've no doubt. It's a game that I've spent an untold amount of hours with, but I don't think I've progressed much further beyond where you are.
Yeah.
So but I've got some days off coming, and I'm going to just soak that shit up. I can't wait.
I mean, I've played it for fucking hours.
Yeah.
And it's like 4 levels that I've done, really, but every single one has taken me forever.
Yeah.
In a really good way.
But yeah, no bad thing.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay, my number 3 is Super Mario Brothers U on the Nintendo Wii U.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much about it because although I've played it a fuckload, I'm still sort of forming my opinions on it. But I will say it's very, very good. Needless to say, it's kind of you take those Mario games for granted. The observations I've had so far is that Super Mario 3D Land and the last 3DS one was Super Mario Brothers 2, I think. New Super Mario Brothers 2. They were kind of... A lot of their influence was from Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES.
Yeah.
So they had the raccoon suit and just the general flow of play seemed to be sort of harking back to that game. Whereas this one, it's got a lot more of a Super Mario World vibe about it.
That excites me so much. That really does.
I have been enjoying it so much. There's the squirrel suit. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the specifics, but the squirrel suit is the flying suit, is the raccoon suit, is the cape.
Yeah.
But you can't take off and fly up from the ground. You can only sort of basically glide.
Right.
But you can also bump, sort of bounce in midair, so you can get to all the hidden areas up above. There's loads of secrets in it. I mean, like New Super Mario Brothers 2, I was so impressed by the fact that there were so many secrets in it, and that's always what's been so great about Mario. It's just been there's always stuff around every corner. Not every corner, because that would be shit, but you know.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's very, very rewarding finding stuff. I was playing on co-op with my girlfriend, and she's so much more astute at that shit than I am. So she'll just wander off, and I'll be like, "Oi," you know, and she'll fall down a little hole, and you know, and that's fun. Doing it on co-op is just great. With regards to playing it on the pad, we did a couple of rounds where she played on a Wiimote, and I played with the holding the tablet and sort of helped her out or stitched her up, however I felt. But I think that mode is sort of primarily meant for people who are playing with 3 or 4 people because it doesn't do a whole... I mean, it lets you access secret areas, and there are definitely areas in almost every course that you see that you know that you wouldn't be able to get to unless either someone was there to throw you up or the person on the Wii U tablet was there to sort of tap and build blocks for you. I'm still working my way through it. I'm going to play it a whole lot tomorrow and then I'm going to review it. But... It feels good, man. It's fucking good, and there's loads of cool stuff on the sidelines. All these little mini games, you know, inventive mini games. Dodge fireballs for a minute, or bounce on as many Goombas as you can without touching the ground and stuff like that. And that stuff's great, but it serves to annoy you a little bit that Nintendo there's no online leaderboards or something. Those are things that I'd love to set high scores on for people to beat, but you can do that locally, I think, but not online, which is a real shame. But yeah, it's basically overwhelmingly good at this point, but I don't want to count my chickens yet, so I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna play it a whole lot, and I'll speak about it next week.
Cool. Yeah, that's the one. I'm getting the Wii U obviously this weekend, and that's the one I'm umming and ahhing about. I know I'll get it at some point, and I haven't played the 2D Mario since the first one on DS, so I don't feel oversaturated in that respect. I didn't play the Wii one or the new 3DS one. When I hear it's like Super Mario World, that excites me a lot. That's probably my favourite game ever. I think if I have to list one, then that's normally the one that goes as number one. It's
so difficult though, because I know that it's for you it's a toss up between that and Nintendo Land.
Yeah, it is.
I'll talk about Nintendo Land in a bit, but that's
so far from what you've said, I'm leaning already towards Nintendo Land just because I want something that, as I said to you earlier today, I want something that is for the Wii U. Does that make any sense? I want something that is Wii U, you know, rather than a game that I could effectively, if it existed, play on my Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah,
true that. I mean, the cool. I mean, it is lovely to see a Nintendo game in high definition.
Yeah, that's another thing that I'm excited about. I have seen it running, and it does look lovely. But,
and they do. There's little things like something my girlfriend noticed I didn't, where you're carrying these little Yoshis through a level, and the music. They sing along to the music, properly sing along, and it's the kind of it's the kind of little touch that Nintendo haven't been able to do before. But nice. Yeah, it's very good. But I'll speak about it next week.
So is it me?
Yes.
Number 2, Walking Dead.
Which episode?
Episode 4. I actually had a lot more of episode 3 to do than I thought. I thought it was right at the end, but I was actually about half an hour from the end. And then all of episode 4 literally just finished just before we started recording. And we'll be doing episode 5 after recording because I'm writing a review of the full season for a magazine, which is why I've been caning up this week. Fucking hell. Episode 4 was absolutely superb. The end of episode 3 was also superb, but episode 4 was you could tell that it was written by Gary Whitta, who wrote the Book of Eli. He's kind of overseen the others, but this was the only one that he wrote. It felt more cinematic than the other ones.
I agree with that. Yeah,
it used a few cinematic narrative devices as well. I don't know if narrative is the right word. A few cinematic devices, which I wasn't crazy about. A couple of things. I'll nitpick in a minute. I'm going to talk about how good it is first. It's such a brilliant game. We've talked about why I don't think this episode does anything massively different to the others in terms of why it's so good. It is more action orientated. I think it does a lot of good stuff in terms of leaving out some boring traversal. It doesn't slow down as much as the other episodes, and things like if you go somewhere, get a thing, and then you need to go back to wherever you were, it will just cut that journey out. And you can tell that he's been grounded in writing films and scripts because he understands that kind of thing. And he's actually talked about that before on podcasts in different things as well. I'm just very, very, very excited to get on to episode 5 tonight because it is one of the most kind of groundbreaking and brave games I've ever played, even not in terms of gameplay, but just in terms of character and story. And I love it. And I do think it's better than a TV show.
Yeah, I do too, but I've only seen the first series. Did you get to the end of episode 4 then?
I did. I just finished episode 4, literally 5 minutes before we recorded. I'm fresh off it.
I liked the two. I said last week or whenever it was that there was two very, very sort of almost action movie bits. One was the shootout bit, or when you're first person. It's not really a shootout, but you have to kill a lot of zombies in rapid succession. And then there's a bit where you ascend up that staircase.
Yes.
That was wicked.
Yeah, very, very good. They've kind of tightened up the action. There was an action sequence in episode 2 which was a bit sketchy, but they've definitely tightened it up for this episode. Unfortunately, you can't invert though, so I do struggle a little bit because I am backwards. So I can play uninverted, but I always fuck up for the first couple of seconds, which invariably means I get eaten and have to do it again, which obviously strips some attention out of it. Tiny little nitpickings. There's a couple of bits in that episode where I can't remember if they used this before, but there'll be a little classic cinematic horror device where you'll be walking down like a corridor or an alley and something will scuttle behind you. Lee can't see that, and that then makes me you have to be very careful when you use a device like that in a game because you can play around with it a bit more in a film, I think, but in a game you are that character essentially, and in Walking Dead certainly you are Lee. You're making his decisions, you're acting as him the whole time, doing that and giving the audience effectively a chance to see something that he hasn't seen. Suddenly pulls me out of the character, and suddenly I'm viewing Lee's journey rather than experiencing Lee's journey. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the game. I just noticed it and I was like, I'm not too sure if they should have done that. But I don't think you should use devices like that in a throwaway sort of way. Probably the game most guilty of that was Kane and Lynch 2, where they had that camera which they constantly moved in and out of the game world. So half the time the character switching it off, and half the time there was no one controlling it, and it ended up really, I find it distracting. But I think as we move forward and games get invariably more cinematic, people have to be very wary about using stuff like that.
That's funny because I can't say I noticed those devices that you talked about, but that kind of thing would never bother me, especially in this instance where I don't feel like I'm controlling that character. I feel like I'm sort of God, essentially, controlling what happens, or with a very, very small input on what happens. And yeah, that didn't bother me at all. I understand what you mean. I'm sure there were a couple of sort of bits where we're supposed to be alerted to the fact that something's not right, and the main character doesn't realise that. But that's... I never took issue with that at all.
I can't say this isn't something I must emphasise that it's not something that actually really bothered me. It was like a little niggle, and it sparked something in my mind about how that could be a problem more in another game. If you're really trying to, and especially in a game like Walking Dead where they're really trying to tell a certain type of story and do it in a certain way. If you feel like God as opposed to feeling like Lee, it's not a problem. These are just, I just find it interesting to chat about rather than I'm not really criticising it, and who the fuck am I to criticise someone who's written a feature film? I'm just some But yeah, it's just a reasonably interesting talking point, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the other night I went to the cinema to see that new David Ayer film, Day of Watch, with Jake Gyllenhaal as the police. And it's funny how sometimes you can accept it and sometimes you can't. But in that film, the whole thing is supposed to be filmed on camcorders. The police, he's a film student filming all of his while he's out on patrol. The gang leaders have got their cameras and everyone's filming everything. And the amount of times I was just like, if you're going to set up those devices to tell the story, why do you break it every 5 seconds? I was just like, why the fuck did you bother? Because then there'll be a camera pointing at them from another side, and there'll be a camera here and a camera there. And I'm just like, what was the point? That almost ruined that film for me. But in terms of Walking Dead, I suppose we're fickle. I mean, it depends.
Yeah, this is it's a nothing. It's a nothing criticism. It really isn't. And the actual device was reasonably effective. I was like, oh, what was that? But yeah, it just made me think. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, it's a funny one, yeah.
Yeah, that thing that you're talking about, the Jake Gyllenhaal movie, is Modern Family and the later seasons of The American Office are just criminal for that stuff. They're set up, obviously, as mock documentaries, and they just don't give a fuck about that structure. It doesn't actually damage the comedy in any way, but if you actually sit down and think about it, it makes no sense whatsoever.
I can understand when something's been going on as long as those two shows have, but when a film starts and it's like, we're going to tell the story just through people filming everything, and then it was 5 minutes in, there's camera shots from here, here, and here. I'm like, why did you bother? What's the point? I'm not an idiot. Either set that up and then adhere to it, or don't bother.
Have you ever watched The Only Way Is Essex or Made in Chelsea?
No, I know.
They drive you mad. They say they're reality shows, and it's just like 2 camera shots all the time that cut back and forth. And like, well, where's the other camera? Yeah. It would drive you nuts. But
I think that's part of the appeal of those shows, isn't it?
Probably.
What the hell are we talking about anyway?
Let's move on.
Okay, my number 2 is the aforementioned Nintendo Land on the Nintendo Wii U. It wants to be Wii Sports for the Wii U, and it basically is that. Although it's not, the shock of the new is not to the same degree. I mean, I still remember thinking how miraculous the Wii was that weekend when we were all playing it.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I even forced myself to love Red Steel.
Red Steel was pretty funny though.
Yeah, but I mean, there were laughs. But I was like, no, man. I mean, like, it's actually quite a really good control style. I remember trying to justify it because I love the tech so much. Yeah. And even now, when I pick up a Wiimote, I'm just like, I still love this. But yeah, Nintendo Land wants to be Wii Sports for the Wii U, and it's almost there. It's almost there. And there are some of the attractions in it are absolutely brilliant. Have you seen anything of it?
Only that really, really overly long, overly explained, like Virtue's Last Reward, in fact, E3 demo where they talked about that Luigi's Pac-Man or whatever for about 45 minutes.
I must have missed that.
Yeah, it was. You just probably switched off.
Yeah, I mean, there's 12 games here. There's a couple of duds. I mean, there's a rhythm action dancing game which, if you paid £1 for it as a download, you'd be offended. It's very thin. But some of them are just fantastic. The best one on the disc, as far as I'm concerned, is the Yoshi one, and all it is on the gamepad. You've got A and B, so you've got the start point and the end point. You've got to draw A to B, but you have to avoid all these obstacles and pick up these bits of fruit. And sometimes you have to pick up the fruit in a specific order. But all of that stuff only appears on the TV.
Okay.
So you're drawing and trying to sort of approximate where everything is on the TV, and it gets bastard difficult straight away. And unfortunately, they're not online, but there are scoreboards. So me and my girlfriend were having a bit of a ruck on it, and it was just and just sitting there with my fist in my mouth, watching her now a bit. I'm just like, it's so good. And as I said this when I reviewed it, that's the concept of that game. The core concept is ancient. I mean, people were playing games like that centuries ago. I mean, the one that I sort of was drawn to think about was that old fairground game where you sort of move a hoop around a metal tube and it buzzes. And it's just that is a lot of fun. There's a Donkey Kong one where you sort of, again, I likened it to one of those old marble sort of madness games where you avoid the holes and move in and out of the mazes and stuff like that. But brilliantly fun. You have this. I don't want to try and go into sort of too much depth explaining what the games are, because they're all essentially, apart from the rhythm action game, and there's one other that escapes me at the minute. There's kind of, it's not as outright poor as the rhythm action one, but it's just kind of like ho hum. You'll play it a couple of times and then you're done.
It's meatier than We Play. Right?
Oh yes, big time. There are, aside from the simple ones, and aside from the two I've mentioned, there's the Luigi's Mansion one, there's the Mario Chase, and they're basically hide and seek. They're very fun, and the more people you have, the better. But they're essentially hide and seek. But the Zelda and the Metroid ones are just fantastic. The Zelda one in particular. With one of you has got the tablet and you are an archer and you're firing arrows, so you're holding the tablet up. And the way the game works is actually you're walking around this area, so like you're shifting on your couch, doing 360 degrees and sort of aiming behind you. And that sounds annoying, but when you're as involved in the game as that can get you, it's really, really fun. Whereas the other person is using the Wiimote and nunchuck, and you forget. I completely forgot about how doing swordplay with the Wii Motion Plus, like you did in Skyward Sword, is amazing. It's what everybody wanted when the Wii was first announced. 1-to-1 fucking swordplay, and running through that, one of us on the with the sword and the shield, and the other one sort of with the archer. It's just superb. Very, very simple, but superb. And Metroid is kind of similar. One of you flies this little ship around in the sky. A very complicated steering system. You use both thumbsticks and the gyroscope, and you're shooting stuff. And one of you's on the ground just shooting with the Wiimote and nunchuck. But it's fantastic fun, and you can use the hook shot. Me and my girlfriend she was flying around in the spaceship, and then I hooked onto the bottom of her shot, and we were like shooting together, flying. It's tiny little things, man, that Nintendo do so brilliantly.
What if you're just on your own? Is it still going to be fun?
Literally on your own?
Yeah.
Like
literally.
But I mean, like you'd never play it with anybody else. You'd only have it as a single player game.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, because the way things work at the moment, yeah.
Are you talking about you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. 3D games make my wife to be sick. Unfortunately, they make her very motion sick within a minute. So she can play stuff like Mario, but anything polygonal.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and even most 2D games, she can't hack them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult because it is essentially a party game. And I think of the games, the majority of them are meant to be played with more than 2, 3, 4 people. There's some of them that are solely single player, but they're kind of... I mean, there's an F-Zero one where you drive... you go through an F-Zero track, but you hold the Wii gamepad up and it's tilt controls only. And that's kind of... It's fun, but it's kind of forgettable and, ho-hum. It's a difficult question. I really don't know, because cooperatively, some of the games are absolutely outstanding, but single player... Fuck.
Tough.
That's a really difficult...
Tough now. I'll decide in the shop on Friday, and I guess we'll find out next week which I plump for out of Mario and Nintendo Land. The reason that I'm not going to get Nintendo Land is because the packet... I'm getting the Zombie U one. I guess we'll talk about Zombie U next week.
Yes.
So that doesn't come packed in with Nintendo Land. So I'm umming and ahhing about which one of those two to pick up. But I'm now leaning towards Mario.
The thing about Nintendo Land is it does show you everything that the console can do, and that's fucking tough.
Yeah, I kind of want to get that, play it like on Friday, and then just take it back for Mario. That would be ideal.
Well, yeah, maybe so. I mean, and you might really get into the whole meta game of building this theme park. And you earn coins, and then you put them in a pachinko machine, and then you get prizes, and it builds statues and stuff, and people start populating it and stuff. That's a really engaging part of the game. It's difficult. It's a glorified party game, but 70 to 80% of the party games in it are superb.
Yeah, it's just as a full price game, it's tough. It's tough for me to think about laying down full price money for that game. As a pack-in, I'd be delighted. But
oh man, it's so difficult.
It's tough. I'll decide in the shop, I think.
Yeah, fair play.
So is it my number one?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. My number one again, 2 weeks in a row, is Far Cry 3. I decided, like I said, my brother came down to hang out this weekend, and I just thought I'd show him it because he likes games like that. And we ended up playing, I think, maybe four straight hours in the evening, and then the next day probably another 3 or 4 straight hours just playing past the pad. Something I rarely get to do these days. I like playing games like that, even single player games, but we were just moving around the giant open world, passing the pad between us, doing like a camp liberation or an assassination mission, all these things that are in the game, just one after another. If we died, we swapped over, and it was just amazing constantly. to the point where I was seeing things that I didn't even realise were possible in the game. Different ways of approaching camps, little different emergent things that can happen. I've lamented the fact that it doesn't have the enemy injuries anymore, which is still a shame, but so much more can happen with the way the animals fit into proceedings as well, that it didn't matter. At one point, there was 4 guys, I was hiding behind this sign, 4 guys were coming around the corner, they didn't know I was there, and I jumped out, stabbed one in the neck, pulled his knife out of his belt, flung it at another guy's head, and then quickly pulled out my pistol within half a second and shot the Molotov on the 3rd guy, which set the 4th guy and the 3rd guy on fire. And then I just paused the controller and put it down on the floor and walked out the room, because I'll never do anything better than that ever. Yeah, just stuff like that just happens constantly in the game. We were strapping C4 to hang gliders and jumping off cliffs and sending the hang gliders into camps and stuff. Yeah, it's an amazing game. They've absolutely smashed it. And going back and looking at some Far Cry 2 footage, I think, even though I still think that's a braver game in many ways, and it tried things which no other game has. The moment to moment combat is tighter and more fun in Far Cry 3. I forgot that the enemies were slightly bullet spongy in 2, and they could kind of see you through the forest. I actually forgot all that stuff. Maybe rose tinted glasses slightly. So Far Cry 3 is just better in so many ways. I wish it still had those few little extra things that took 2 to another level, but it doesn't. I've accepted that now, and it does so much more in different ways. Hunting a shark on the Jaws boat. These aren't story missions. These are just things that we did. Yeah, awesome.
Fuck.
I know you haven't had a chance to play it this week.
It's sitting here and it's driving me crazy, because I've been looking forward to that game more so than almost anything else outside of Rock Band Blitz, and I've just... The fact that it's here...
It's even better than you think it's going to be.
I have no doubt. That's the beauty of that game. I know it's going to deliver, and the fact that it's sitting here and my workload's so heavy I can't touch it is driving me slowly fucking mental. But hopefully, if all goes to plan, we can talk about it a little bit next week.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get some more in this week. Definitely. I need to finish the story. I'm right towards the back end of the story. As I said, the story missions aren't quite as good, but they're delivered in a very good way. You'll see when you play it. That'll make more sense when you play it, I think. But yeah, in terms of amazing stuff that happened and just relentlessly fun gameplay and options.
Oh, yeah.
They're almost unbeatable.
Fuck. But even hands off, even without playing them.
Yeah, I was just loving watching him play. And likewise, I'm sure he was, because we were just discussing like little tactics, and or we'd do a thing where you get an idea and you don't tell him what it's going to be. So you think if this comes together, he's going to think this is awesome. So yeah, stuff like that, and then inevitably it'll all fuck up, and you end up just looking and you had these plans. It's like, man, I was going to sneak in the camp, turn off the alarm, pop this guy in the back of the head with my silenced pistol, and now I'm just standing here, and like 3 acres is on fire, and there's dogs running at me, and there's a fucking jaguar. And you just think, how the fuck did that happen? But yeah, all of it's fun.
I can't wait. Zombie U and Assassin's Creed 3, Ubisoft. I mean, even though I haven't played the latter two, I think of Ubisoft very highly at the moment.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to Zombie U on Friday. That is the game that I wanted the console for, and it's the game that I'm getting the console for. Outside of work reasons, obviously, and yeah, very excited.
Okay, well, hopefully, I don't know if the multiplayer mode's online or not, but hopefully, yeah,
I'm not sure.
We'll find out. Okay, right. My number 1 is Hitman Absolution.
So this game's divided critics massively.
Yeah,
which is always interesting to me.
Yeah, and I can understand why. I will try and be brief. Actually, I will be brief. Fuck it. It's a game that I actively wanted to hate. But playing through it, I was like, I want to hate this. I actually want to dislike this. There's a bit in it which summarised a lot of it for me. There's a bit in the game, it's about halfway through, where Agent 47 stops and looks at a car, and I don't know whether he steals it or whether that's his car, but he kind of smirks, and then it cuts away to him getting in the car.
Right.
And I thought, that car is the car from the Sylvester Stallone film Cobra. And the more I looked at it, the more it's like... At first I thought that, no, not at all. But the more I think about it, I'm like, I'm sure that's a deliberate reference. And it's perfect. Have you seen Cobra?
No.
No,
I haven't.
it's a 1986 Sylvester Stallone film, and I saw it at an age where I watched anything like that. Stallone, Chuck Norris, Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, anything with a cop or violence, whatever. And Cobra is one that always stuck out in my head as one that I hated because it was really, really goofy, really stupid. It was cartoonish. The bad guys were just cartoons. It was a stupid film, but it was a little bit nasty, a little bit too violent, a little bit too profane. I remember as a young kid thinking, there's something really, really seedy and unpleasant about that film. And that's kind of what this is like. It wants to be a goof. Does it want to be a goof? I don't know. Parts of it, you think it's going to try and be kind of serious, but it holds 80s action movies in such high regard. And I've said this about games in the last few years. There's been a lot of them. I mean, Dead to Rights Retribution was the first one, where a lot of cliches, a lot of sort of ridiculous things that sort of happened as a normal thing in those kind of movies. Have you seen the bad guys' henchmen?
In Hitman?
In Hitman Absolution, yeah.
No.
It's Danny Trejo, but with his head transplanted on the face of a bison standing on two hind legs. It's not a human being. It's a cartoonish giant that happens to exist in this world that kind of... It feels like it's taking itself seriously and then you don't know. It's misogynist, it's sexist. The bad guy is like he just this hick with a cowboy hat who just kills people for no reason. And just it's tasteless as fuck and unimaginative. And every character you meet, when you meet the FBI guy, he's got a fake hand. His sort of partner is this sexy woman who's covered in tattoos, and you're like, part of you's like, if this was an idiotic, upbeat, slightly goofy film, I'd take it. But it tries to take itself so seriously that it gets the tone all wrong. And it's like Cobra, because you watch that. I want to see Sylvester Stallone do battle with all these fucking cartoonish bad guys, but it goes a little bit too far the other way. It starts thinking it's something that it's not. And that's, you know, for example, there's one mission where you start and it's you have to rescue this girl from an orphanage, and the first thing you see is a nun that's been beaten to death, and you're like, was that really fucking necessary? I mean, it's in context okay, but it's just, it goes out of it. It's just tasteless for no apparent reason. And when you get introduced,
Kane Lynch as well.
Yeah, Kane and Lynch did sort of hit those notes as well at some point. And there's moments that just irritated me. The first time you meet the bad guy, the profanity is it's exhausting. It's one of those situations where they haven't just spliced too much profanity into the dialogue. They've replaced the dialogue with profanity.
Okay.
What the fuck is this? What are you fucking... I don't fucking know. And you're just like, what am I looking at? What am I hearing? This is nothing. This is people swearing because some donut thinks that it's somehow gritty or... I don't know what. Anyway, the tone of it, just the oppressive nature, I wanted to hate it and I didn't. I really, really enjoyed it.
Really?
I really, really enjoyed it. It's not a Hitman game. There's a million things that it does wrong if you're a fan of the old Hitman games. I mean, the first half, there's a lot of sequences that are very linear and they don't offer you a lot of options with regards to how you tackle situations. And there are... I mean, you're not really a Hitman in this game. I mean, you're Agent 47, but there's this whole story which isn't interesting. It's very dull, very cliched. But there's a bit where you go to this... the best way to describe it, you go to this place in the desert. It's the bad guy's hideout, and it is the guy in the Bond villain's lair from in the volcano, whichever one that was.
Oh yeah,
That one. It's not literally that, but there's a desert and there's this silo underneath it, and there's all this stuff. And the missions that you do: go here, switch off the security. Okay, done that. Go here, switch off the security. Okay, go here, go there, extend the bridge. You're doing all these menial tasks. It's quite entertaining because the whole time you have to sort of hide yourself from everybody and all that other stuff. But it's not... You want to be... Here's the guy you have to kill, go and kill him. You don't really necessarily want to be going dicking around, turning off security cameras and all that shit. Despite that, I really enjoyed it. When it opened up and when it did offer you those options, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to dislike it. I genuinely did, but I played it for a long, long time, and I got... In one sitting, I think I did most of the game. That's how sort of compelled I was. Yeah. There's problems. There's fucking problems galore. There's problems with the AI and stuff like that. And It's so difficult. It's a difficult one, but I recommend it. People have said, "Should I get it?" And I've been like, "Yeah, it is fun."
I'm always intrigued by a game that's that divisive anyway. I've heard a lot of people talk about the tone. I know a lot of people who are big Hitman fans, and it doesn't deliver on what they want from a Hitman game. I totally understand that point of view as well. I heard other people raving about it. Really interested to play it. My own personal history of Hitman, I think I played 2 Contracts and Blood Money and struggled with all of them. Enjoyed them, but really just struggled to... Always felt like I was playing a bumbling idiot that was just fucking everything up. And I think a lot of people enjoy them, maybe replay the missions over and over and over again, whereas Dishonored allows me to pretty much be a badass straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Using a lot of options that seem obvious, whereas Hitman, finding those options, they're kind of... in the old ones anyway, were hidden away, and that's just the design of the game, and I can understand why people think that's brilliant. So yeah, I don't have the same attachment to the older games that some people do, and hence I'm still interested in playing this. Interested in seeing what the tone's like for myself. It sounds potentially annoying. Like I say, I wouldn't be offended by it, but it might annoy me or irritate me.
It's like a 13-year-old trying to make an adult game. It is juvenile. Right. It's properly juvenile. But there are moments where I was just like, "Are you fucking serious?" As I mentioned, the dead nun beaten to death in front of you. And like, what? Why? If there was some kind of context, but that's just some shit that happened, and this is a nasty game, so fucking deal with it. And I was just like, honestly, I did think I want to dislike this game because of how oppressive the atmosphere is, but I really enjoyed it.
On the tone tip, ever so slightly, just to go back to Black Ops very, very quickly, we talked about when we were talking about the campaign, all the people burning alive. Didn't we? I don't know if you finished the campaign, but that was actually narratively justified, I think. So I don't think that's a spoiler. It's not a spoiler. But yeah, it wasn't as out of place as it seemed.
That's probably why I didn't have a particularly negative reaction to it. I thought it was unusual, but in it was handled the way it was handled, which wasn't sort of... there was a preoccupation with it, but as you said, that there is some kind of semblance of a... It does kind of tie into what the story was about, whereas in this, it's just as I said,
just being nasty, is it?
Yeah, and it's oppressive and stuff. But aside from that, there's glitches galore. There's the NPCs are really, really inconsistent. Sometimes you can walk through a checkpoint and guys following you, asking for you to put your hands up, will just stop following you. And then there's other times where you hide behind a wall and they'll stand there shooting at you for 10 minutes until you either come out and dispatch them or restart the checkpoint. So I can understand why that's annoying as well, because I'm the same as you. Hitman games, I played them fleetingly and I didn't like how many choices there were. I didn't like that. So I'll put my hands up and say that this game probably exists because of me, because this is kind of like that Splinter Cell game, the last Splinter Cell.
Conviction.
Slightly dumbed down, a bit more heavy on the narrative. And I really liked that game. But I really enjoyed it. There's some fucking thrilling moments in it, genuinely thrilling. And big, it's a big budget game, and there's sequences in it, and they do it several times because they're clearly proud of what the engine can do. Where there's hundreds and hundreds of people, NPCs wandering around, and it's not one of those normal things where you see them all make the same gesture or move the same way, and it all looks a little bit hokey. It really feels like you're mingling between all of these fucking people, and there's hundreds, and it's incredible. But despite that, I think at this stage in a console's life, if you're releasing a game that's as hokey and, I think that Sega have got the right idea of releasing Anarchy Reigns next year at 30 quid or 20 quid, I think.
20 quid.
At this stage in the console's life cycle, everyone's like, why aren't people buying console games anymore? And it's like, well, as much money as they've spent on this and as good as it looks, I think if they put it out at 30 quid or 20 quid, it would fucking absolutely sell like hotcakes. Similarly, with next year when EA bring out the what's it called? The Cartel. What's it called? Army of Two. 20 quid, I'm sold. 40 quid at this stage in the console's life cycle for another experience that I could probably get for a $5, difficult.
Yeah. But, I know what you mean, but for 20 quid they've got to sell double, which is that's a big ask.
Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, it's I think most games are priced. Most people don't. I've started to come into contact with a lot of people who don't buy new games, and at this point in the console life cycle, I think it would have done them really, really good to think about that. But yeah. I really, really liked Absolution. I really, really did.
Interesting. I kind of am interested in playing that. Again, way too busy, but we'll definitely find time to play it at some point. I need to really. You need to keep on top of everything.
Yeah, you'll know after about 10 minutes whether you want to consider it.
Yeah, sure.
It or not.
Yeah, well, I'll probably be the guy that waits till it is 20 quid. You know, and that's what everyone else does these days.
Well, that won't take long in this day and age, boy.
Indeed. So, yeah, that's us, I think.
Yes.
Sounds like it might have been a long one, so apologies if it is. Maybe you like that, but yeah, it's not really our remit, so apologies. Check out the website, obviously, at thefiniteplaylist.com. Follow us on Twitter if you want to, at John Denton, at Chet Roivas. Listen to us on Stitcher, because we don't know what it is, but we're on there. And the other thing that I always forget to say, that I can't remember what it is. So, yeah, next week, more with you, a few more bits and bobs, and then everything quietens down. So we're going to bring you our Game of the Year podcast just before Christmas, which should be the same format, but more Game of the Year-y.
Check you later.
See you later. Bye.
Is he a cop? Is he a PI or something?
Well, fuck me gently. Oh.
What the fuck?
That ain't no fucking private eye. That's a fucking ghost. That's a myth. That's a fucking hitman.
Hitman?
Oh, shit.